More than a real estate attorney, he's a devoted family man, a trusted advisor at the closing table, and a visionary developer shaping Queens. With over 20 years of experience, he's built more than just deals. He's built a legacy. In episode 2 of the ProLinks podcast, we explore the mindset, discipline, and heart that make Jay Lau a leader in both his family and in his law firm. Welcome to the ProLinks podcast, where we sit down with entrepreneurs, business owners, and professionals to uncover the stories behind their success, the spaces they operate in, and how they're building for the future. Real talk, real stories, and real estate, all in one place. We're your host, Adam Lee.
I'm Andy Chia.
And today we have an extremely special guest with us, the man, the myth, the legend, Jay Lau. Please give our viewers a little background information about you.
Wow, that's a great introduction. I appreciate that. I don't know much about the myth and the legend, but my name is Jay Lau. I'm a real estate attorney. Been in the community and practicing for the past 20-something years, 20 plus now. It's been quite a journey and went by pretty quickly. But thank you for that introduction. There's no myths and there's no legend. It's just Jay Lau.
So to give a background and context, I've known Jay since middle school. He's always been a big brother and a mentor to me. He's guided me through the various careers, personal life milestones, real estate investments, and the list goes on. And before we start, I just really want to say again how much we appreciate you doing this today with us. I think the world gets the rare opportunity to catch a glimpse and learn of what has led you to become the man you are today.
Well, thank you. Again, I appreciate the relationship. That's always the most important thing. I have known Adam for quite some time. It's been an absolute pleasure to see you and where you are today and the successes that you have. And thanks for having me on today. This is a little surprise, but I know we had a conversation about this and I'm excited to be here today.
Absolutely. Yeah. So let's start off. Talk to us about your upbringings, from working in the family restaurant to growing up in Long Island, right? How have those earlier years shaped your work ethic and your ambitions?
Wow. That's a loaded question. And I always tell pretty much everybody I come across, the upbringing is defines who we are. It's because where we come from. And Adam knows my family, but I think my story is very familiar to a lot of first generation immigrants. My parents were born in mainland China. Mm-hmm. They were refugees in Hong Kong, and then they came to America. My dad is a unique character in itself. If anyone gets the opportunity to meet my father one day, but he really shaped who I am today. But yeah, all I remember growing up was being in the back of a restaurant. I was one of those kids that kind of slept underneath the counter where the cash register was. But me and all my cousins, this is how we grew up. And to me, that was normal. I spent a lot of time in the restaurant. And I truly believe that is what makes me unique from a lot of my counterparts in the community, because I attribute a lot of my personality traits, my character, based on how I grew up and how I was raised. Growing up in the restaurant, you learn how to deal with workers, you learn how to deal with customers, and you learn how to deal with your parents as your boss, right? So, unfortunately, as the takeout kid, you're the lowest on the totem pole. You're making wontons and egg rolls, and we'll talk about this because everything I reference and relate things to is essentially in egg rolls and wontons. All my closest friends know that. To me, like a closing is like a wonton and egg roll, because it's a volume practice and this is what we do, and you need to just get it out and you need to get it done quick, right? But I'm very thankful. That's the word I would use. I don't resent how I grew up. I embrace it because that's who I am, and it also gave me the ability to understand where people come from. I lived with all the restaurant workers. They were like a part of my family. It's interesting, where I grew up in Garden City, upper middle class town.
Yep.
But to me, the people that were like my family were like the restaurant workers.
Right.
And so that gave me a different perspective on life and where people come from.
Yeah.
Gives you an appreciation of what you have. So I'm very thankful for how I was raised and how I was brought up. Some people would say it was really tough, but nothing comes easy, right? And toughness and grit comes through challenges in life. And so to me, any challenge that comes about, the ability to deal with it is because at a young age, I was exposed to a lot of different circumstances that were challenging, and you learn how to roll with the punches.
Yeah.
And, that's how you deal with it.
No, for sure. I mean, just to touch on that, I think like you grew up in an Asian family and you also grew up in, predominantly, Caucasian town, right? So in a way I could see how your skill set is like kind of like a chameleon. You had to adapt to the different circumstances, and that probably taught you, to kind of adjust and read the room, right, as you gotten older.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
And again, I find it that was an absolute blessing for me. And I would say that because my father is not a typical Asian man. In our Asian culture, we learn how to be like kind of passive and kind of, we have to learn how to like just eat things and just deal with it because of custom and culture. My father was not like that. So I was very, very fortunate because even my earliest memories of my father in the restaurant, even though we didn't spend a lot of time together outside of the restaurant, if someone tried to bully my father, like my father wouldn't take crap from anyone. And I'm very thankful that he taught me that. He taught me that this is America, right? No one has anything above you. We're all the same. We all started the same. No one's better than you. You earn your keep. And so at a very young age, for me growing up in Garden City, yeah, sure, in elementary school, middle school, you go through the struggles of, saying to yourself, I'm American, but I'm not really. Because my home was not American. We grew up and we had to speak Cantonese at home. And our customs and our culture were definitely not American. But at a young age, when you go to your friend's house, you see other cultures and how they interact with their family members. And I thought I was very blessed because you get to pick and choose the best from every culture. And you can choose what you want to take, the good and the bad. And so for me, being uncomfortable at a young age also, I think, helped me become very, it helped me become the person that I am, which is a little different in the sense that, I'm very open about speaking my mind. I'm probably a little bit too straightforward when I should sometimes learn how to dial it back. So growing up being uncomfortable, I think is great. I think all young people need to do that because it creates the ability to operate in uncomfortable circumstances. And in the business world, we're often in that situation, right? Especially in the art of the deal. You're going to be put through the grinder. You're going to be put through different situations and circumstances. And you need to be able to react and communicate and deal with those situations. So
Absolutely.
I'm thankful for that as well.
Nice.
So I've been in the real estate industry for quite a while, and we have, of course, passed a few times. Occasionally, I meet you before. I heard a lot of good things about you, but one of the things that stood out to me is your high level communication skills, and you are able to speak 4 different dialect and languages. And most people say about you is that your specialty to connect to people very quickly and deeply. Now, how did you develop that skill set?
So again, people want to think that there's some kind of magic sauce to it, but I think it really was like how I grew up in the restaurant. I cherished the moments when I was a kid and, you're by yourself in elementary school with like adult men in the back of a kitchen everyone's speaking Fuchinese, Cantonese, Mandarin, certainly learning a lot of bad language, and knowing when someone's joking with you, sarcastic with you, messing with you. And I appreciate it so much because at the restaurant and with my grandparents, we spoke Fuchinese. So I became very proficient in my Fuchinese. At home with my mom and dad, because they were ultimately went through elementary school and middle school in Hong Kong. So at home we spoke Cantonese.
Okay.
My babysitter was from Taiwan.
Wow. I'm Chinese, by the way.
Yeah, I know. So I learned my bo po mo fo, right? And I learned my Mandarin from my babysitter.
Wow.
But you know, I'm like a 4-time Chinese school dropout. I can't read and write. But being able to speak and transition between all the people that I communicated with all the time was a blessing for me, because you know, people always ask me like, you know, they say like, oh, Jay's a great attorney. I'm like, you know, we all went to law school. You know, we all study the same things. But I think my ability to understand where people are coming from, whether they're Fuchinese, you know, Cantonese speaking, or from Taiwan, or it doesn't matter, anywhere, right? I understand the mentality of being a first-generation immigrant, and I'm sympathetic towards that. I'm very protective of that. When I see first-generation immigrants come here buying real estate, like I don't want anybody to pick on them because I know what my parents had to go through and my grandparents. Wow. So like if someone tries to bully them or bullshit them, like I'm going to call them out.
Like what your father did for you.
That's right. Yeah. That's right. You know, if like, I don't want to say white, but like, you know, Caucasian realtor says you have to go to my mortgage broker, I'd be like, that doesn't say that in the contract. We can go to whatever mortgage broker we want to go to. We're going to stick to the contract. And you know, you can't just threaten someone and kind of scare them into doing what you want, right? Because I'm not going to let you do that. And again, that's just how I grew up. So I'm very thankful for that.
Yeah. I want to add to that, you just not only speak 4 different languages, you speak fluently those languages, not just like curse words, like, you know.
You know, I won't say fluent, but I would say like 85%. Right?
That's perfect. Yeah. Got another question for you. How important are relationships in your business and in life?
Oh, geez. I mean, in life, I'll go with that first, because I think that cuts a little deeper. In life, I think relationships are everything. Relationships are very important to me. And I think I get that from the Asian culture, right? And I'll just give you a simple example. You know, when we were growing up, when we had workers working with us, you know, the workers were like closer than your family. You live and eat all day long. You spend all this time. And I remember instances where the worker was like, hey, boss, to my dad, like, I want to open another restaurant. And my dad would lend them the money. We would go to their restaurant and wrap the egg rolls and wontons to make sure they open on time. And we would want to see each other succeed and do well. I know people say it's like old school and it's a different time. But I remember times like that where before the 90s, you know, the Asian community was very small. So we took care of one another and we wanted to protect one another. And I saw the evolution later on where, you know, a huge influx of Asian immigrants, you know, in the 90s and 2000s with the WTO and all that other stuff. We won't get to politics because I know that's dangerous.
It's not a day. Save it for another day.
Yeah, we'll save that for another day. But obviously, when more people started coming in, those relationships started getting diluted. But I cherished the deeper relationships and people that work with me over time. I would say I can attest to relationships because I've never had to advertise, right? And when I say advertise, like for the law practice, but through the years, people always come back. And I think that speaks for itself. I don't need to self-promote. I think when you treat people right, you treat them with respect, and you do right by them, that speaks volumes. For me, I don't care what clothes you wear, and I don't care what you drive, and I don't care what's in your bank account. There's nothing better, at least for me, to see is, a first generation immigrant who worked hard, saved their money, and bought their first home. Like that's the American dream, right? And everyone should be entitled to that, and that should be protected. No one should be able to take that away from someone else.
Wow.
So that's how I see it. So those relationships are really important. And in business, we're all there, right? I mean, we know there's some things that are superficial about what we do. You'd like, as an attorney, you'd like to think that your work product speaks for itself. But again, just based on how I was raised and my personality, I'm not going to kiss anyone's ass. Don't expect me to do that. You can cut that out, or
Don't worry. Don't worry about it.
I'm going to be straight, and if my client's wrong, I'll tell them they're wrong. But if my client's right, like, I'll go to bat for him. So I think through the years, I've realized it's important to stick to who you are and what your personality is, because you'll see over time, the good guys tend to deal with the good guys. And, shady guys want to deal with shady guys because they got to do shady deals. So you kind of stick with your guns and kind of do it that way.
Yeah, no, definitely. I mean, like, integrity and principles, these are all things that we, all lyrics that we listened to in the 90s and 90s hip hop, right? And so we grew up on that, and that kind of gave us a little bit of a foundation of business. But I agree. Like, nothing trumps the word of mouth referrals, right? Because that really just speaks to who you are and how you handle things. And I think that's, it's great.
Yep.
So throughout my career, I've been extremely lucky to learn from a lot of successful business people, right? Throughout the different various industries and businesses that I've been involved in. But the common denominator that I see amongst the greats in their fields are they failed hard and they failed early. What was a disappointing experience you had early in your career that now feels like a blessing?
Oh, geez. So, as an ABC, right? Like American born Chinese. Now I've transitioned, always be closing, right? That's really important.
I didn't know that.
That's it, right? When people say ABC, you'd be like, always be closing, man. We're in the real estate industry.
Yeah.
So, I remember so clearly when I first opened my law practice. I was a young guy. I was a kid. And again, I have to attribute this to my father. I worked for someone in the community, being a bank attorney, and my dad kept encouraging me to open up my own practice. And I was kind of nervous. I was scared. We grow up here. We become risk averse because education makes you risk averse, and you assess risk differently. And my father was like, what are you scared of? Like, look at me and all your uncles and aunts. We came to America, couldn't speak English. We signed leases and opened restaurants. Like, what are you, like a little beep, beep, beep? My dad's like, what the freak's wrong with you? He's like, you're an attorney. It's like, go do this. And I'm so glad I took his advice and I did it. But I will tell you, my first year in my law practice, and because I opened up in Flushing, I had no idea what I was in for. So many different things occurred that humbled me tremendously. But I would say that every challenge and every circumstance really helped me to grow a lot. Our mistakes don't define us. It's how we respond to those mistakes.
Yes.
How we learn from our mistakes.
Exactly.
If anyone says like they're perfect and never talks about it, like it's asinine, right? Like it's ridiculous. No, but it's actually through those mistakes that make you a better person. And I made plenty of them in my young career. I know that we have to stay PG-13, but you know, there were a lot of challenging things that I went through. And dealing in the Asian community, when we have to deal with like a special rider with 苹果, right? You know, like what the heck is this? Like you don't know what that is. You have no idea what's going on.
And just for our viewers, 苹果 means apple.
Yes. Yeah, I made a lot of mistakes and I didn't know what I was doing. But again, I would say I was very blessed and I was very fortunate. There were older attorneys that I trusted, that I looked to, that gave me guidance, which I appreciate so much. And it's interesting, you learn really quickly who your friends are and who your enemies are. You learn that very, very quickly. Because when you're the new kid on the block, right, there's people that want to screw you and see you fail. And there's very few people that want to see you succeed.
Very few, yes.
Very few. And so you have to kind of figure that out, right? And you learn right away. But again, I don't disparage any of that, because when you find the people that are your friends, those are the friends that are with you to the end.
That's right.
And those relationships are tremendous. I would say that those relationships also lead you to other business ventures that you never thought you'd be involved in because of that. And those things happen pretty early on too. But yeah, the failures were big. I made many, many big mistakes. And you just kind of figure it out. A lot of sleepless nights that are like, I'm going to go back to the laundromat and takeout restaurant. I can't do this anymore. Like, why am I doing this? This is nuts. Yeah. I used to tell my father when my father's the best, so, I'm a lawyer in Flushing, and like you're doing closings and everyone's like kind of like tooting your horn. Oh, 刘律师, right? And like on Friday, my dad be like, yo, there's 2 machines at the laundromat that need to be fixed. Like, get your ass there right now. It's like midnight. I got like 4 kids at home. He's like, go fix the laundry machines. And I'm like, all right. But you know what? Sitting at the laundry machine, you're like, wow, if I could solve every problem with a quarter from the laundromat, like I do that all day long. I would do that any time of the week. But as a lawyer, you're dealing with big contracts and big numbers, right?
Yeah. And I feel it's funny that you mentioned that. I feel like a lot of Asian dads are like that, right? Like in front of your face, they're going to humble you. And it doesn't matter how big or how successful you get. They're still going to bring you back down to earth. They're like a counterbalance, right? But behind your back, they're talking greatest things about you. They're your greatest supporter and, sideline, for lack of a better word, cheerleader, right?
Yeah.
And so, I could definitely see that in your dad. I've known your dad for a long time. So
it's the Asian culture.
Yeah.
Asian culture.
So from that experience, what trait and belief did you develop and hold as your highest and standard today?
I think the most important thing is always stick to your guns. When I say stick to your guns, don't change who you are for other people. You're never going to make everyone happy. As you get older, you kind of recognize this, because you can't make everyone happy.
Right.
Because when you make other people happy, you know who's pissed off and angry and miserable? You. So I've learned very early on, like, I'm not going to try to make someone else happy, or I'm not going to tell them something to make them happy. I'm going to tell them what I think this is what it should be. And whether you want to kill the deal or get the deal done, this is what it is. These are the options, A, B, and C. You tell me what you want to do.
Will always be closing.
That's right. It'll always be closing. Because I'm definitely not a contract killer. Those people who close with me, they know that, like, some attorneys, you get the deal and you're like, this is going to be miserable. Right. Like, I'm not like that, right? So stick to who you are and always stick with what you originally felt. I know it's kind of corny, but people say, like, always stick with your gut. Mm-hmm. And sometimes you question your gut. Your first reaction is one thing, but then you overthink things like 100 times and you play it out, and then you change what you're going to do. I have found in my career that when I stick with what my gut initially tells me, that's the way to do it. And I think it's really important.
Yeah, and I think that principle also allows you, because a lot of people, they fight with the feeling of regret, right? Like after something that doesn't turn out the way they expected it to be.
Yeah.
And they're looking at it like, oh man, shouldn't I have done that? And they're looking at it from a result standpoint. But if you have strong principles and integrity and you stick to your gut and you say, hey, well, this is how I choose to do things. And even if it doesn't turn out that way, because you have a high standard for yourself, it leaves out the part where you're feeling the guilt or the regret. And I think regret is one of the most painful emotions that human beings experience, that aside from shame, right?
Yeah, I mean, listen, we all understand shame because we're Asian culture.
Right.
And we all can say like hindsight's 2020, right? When you've already done through it, but listen, there's a reason for everything. Adam, like I'm a man of faith,
Yep.
right? I have my standard. When you talk about standard, the standard has to come from somewhere.
Right.
We don't pull that standard out of our ass, right? Like, I'm sorry. Okay, get it.
No, that's cool.
fine.
No,
That's
you're
fine.
good. Don't worry.
You're good.
But there's an opportunity cost. So when you make one move, yes, there may be a certain result, but you don't know what the other results would be. And when you make a choice, right, there could be a lot of consequences. But if you made the other choice, there would have been consequences that end also.
And you'll never know the alternative.
You'll never know the alternative. When we're kids, remember reading like Choose Your Own Adventure?
Right.
You get to read the book and then you'd be like, choose your own adventure. Right. That's life, right?
Yeah.
So it's interesting. I don't regret too many things because I believe that everything happens for a purpose, whether good or bad. It's what you choose to make of those circumstances. I think it's really, really powerful when you take circumstances that have been dealt to you, whether they're good or bad, but you make the most of it. Because, Adam, I have 4 kids. What do you tell your kids, right? When life gives you lemons, you make lemonade, bro.
Absolutely.
And who doesn't like lemonade? Like, come on, right? I've drank a lot of lemonade in my life. And I've been given a lot of bad lemons, but I've had some good lemons too, man. And the good lemons, you freaking just...
We're talking about fruits all day.
That's it, man. That's what we're doing, man. So life is going to be life. You can't control circumstances, but it's how you deal with the circumstance that show and reflect who we are, right? So I love it because you can't plan for anything, man. Yeah. Like you plan a certain amount, but a perfect example, when I'm an attorney, I'm going to closing and people don't get this. Like if I'm only buyer's attorney, I can do everything in my power to make sure I'm prepared. But if the seller's attorney comes to the closing with no deed, no transfer docs, didn't clear title, like I can't do jack. And when I'm the seller's attorney and I did everything I'm supposed to do, but the buyer's attorney didn't tell the bank attorney anything, like we're sitting there for 5 hours.
Right.
And this drives me nuts. Like, right? We all have to deal with circumstances, but it's how you deal with those circumstances. It's really clear and it's reflective of who you are and how you respond to the circumstances.
Absolutely. 100%. So I remember in 2007, I was purchasing my first property and I came to your office to review and sign a contract, right? We were in your office and suddenly 2 guys come barging in, right? With black garbage bags and laid them across your conference room table. Now, I don't know what was in those garbage bags. I didn't see, okay? But those were the early days before the 2008 crash, right? And I can only imagine it to be the wild, wild west during that time. And you have facilitated many, many large developments in the Queens area since then. What are some of the craziest deals that you've encountered and how did you navigate them?
So when you use the word navigate, that means that you can kind of control and steer where you're going.
Or adapt and adjust.
Yeah, I think oftentimes we have to adapt and adjust. I've had many crazy deals. You have crazy deals because when you're dealing with like large developers and developments, there's partners involved. And you have no idea what, like, so I'm an attorney. Let's say I have a corporate entity. First thing I always ask is like, who am I dealing with?
Mm.
Because in a LLC, there could be 50 members.
Mhm.
Right.
Who am I supposed to talk to? 50 people or the one guy?
Well, the GP, ideally.
Yeah. But you know, Andy knows. GP says he's a GP. Does he really GP?
That is
Exactly.
true. That is true.
You have no freaking idea. Yo, you come to closing and all of a sudden, like some dude's like, yo, I'm a member here. Like I didn't approve that. I'm like, what? Like, what the freak are we supposed to do?
Who are you?
That's right. Like, I've had deals where like the guy's like, we're coming to closing and then negotiate a deal. I'm like, well, if you don't negotiate this, like, I'm not going to give the money for the closing. I'm like,
Wait a second. Who are you?
I'm like, what happened here? When you deal with like an 8-hour closing, you're like, what the freak is going on? And I think people that maybe they're a little more patient have a better grasp of that. But for me, I have a very low tolerance when we're not prepared. And I think in all my crazy deals, it's not because I'm a good lawyer. It's managing expectation and personalities.
Mm.
That's really the bottom line. Sometimes the guy who's holding up the deal is not the money guy. He can just be an asshole for the sake of being an asshole, right? Like,
Right.
So how am I going to talk to him to sign a document so I can close? And sometimes it is the guy with the money, right? But he's easy. He just wants to have like a membership agreement that where it says that he gets the biggest say and whatever it is. But like when you're dealing with like a syndicate and you're dealing with like a sponsor, as a lawyer, I have an obligation to the entity, right? I need to know who has approved this transaction and everyone knows what's going on. So deals can go really, really hairy and they can go sideways so quick. But I think through the years, just through experience, I try to gather all the information up front because I want to deal with all the nonsense in the beginning so that at the closing table, there aren't issues. Because at the end of the day, if the goal is to close, then I'm not going to do that at the table. I want to know everything ahead of time. But you asked for crazy deals. I can't name names and I can't name
that's okay.
people, but the front end of closing is just the beginning, because on the back end, when you're dealing with like selling units and how they want to distribute like their profits and stuff
Right.
like that, they're all crazy, man. There's nothing that's like boilerplate.
Right.
People always ask me like, what's normal? I'm like, normal? There's no such thing as normal, right? Normal is like the guy who works at the post office, right?
Right.
That's normal.
Right.
Like you guys don't work at the post office, right? Yeah. So there's no normal, right?
Mhm.
Yeah, every project's different. Every partnership and group, as you said, with different personalities is built different, right? And,
Yeah, 100%.
and so that definitely can complicate things, or it can make things go easy. But you'll never know right from that start,
Yeah.
as you said.
Yeah, I couldn't imagine sitting at a closing table for 7 to 8 hours. Me personally, alongside a closing table, 4 to 5 hours. I think that's long already. Sitting 8 hours. That's like,
Yeah.
I don't know. It's crazy to me. So
It's always a commercial deal.
yeah, it sounds 8 hours.
You could be sitting there for 8 hours because they got like some hard money loan. They're underwriting at the table, and guys are still trying to get money from other people and other investors to close.
Oh my God.
I'm not joking, man. I'm not joking.
It's like the last hour that they're like, no, it's coming. It's coming. The wire's coming any second.
I've literally had a deal like that. And at the table, we have to negotiate the terms of the operating agreement for the guy. And the guy just like walks up with a bank check of like $4 million. It's like, no one told me this before closing.
Wow.
It's crazy.
I want to know buying for lunch and who was buying for dinner, sitting for 8 hours.
Oh, here's another thing. Facts. Whenever you go to a closing and they have a meal or lunch prepared, you don't like that. That means you're going to be there a long time.
Yeah.
Oh, man.
The expectation is that
Yeah, I don't want to see lunch at the table, man.
Yeah.
That was a great tip. So being in your industry for so long, right? And after pandemic, real estate changes a lot. What do you see it's changing and what are you foreseeing the next 5 years in real estate?
Oh, so the pandemic. Listen, okay, we're gonna do a little side note. Pandemic was the greatest thing that ever happened to any of us. It was the greatest reset. People got things into perspective, and I'm telling you, it expedited the use of technology in the legal field. We used to have to sit down, sign contracts with everyone all day long,
Right.
physically. Now I can use DocuSign.
Right.
And now like clients are like, yeah, I don't need to see you. Let's just do it online. I'm like, yeah, because I don't wear a mask. All right. But, post-pandemic, I would say that for the legal community, technology came into play, and that helped us overall. Because before that, like when you have to sit down and meet and everyone has to travel and come, like it was antiquated. And now everyone's very comfortable with wires. Whereas before, everyone was very reluctant to send a wire. But now with technology, think about it. You go online, right? You just set it up, send a deposit. So much easier. Now, I will give the flip side and the caveat, because as an attorney, you always want to call, confirm the wiring instructions, make sure you do the right thing so that, you don't get defrauded. So from that perspective, the pandemic did expedite getting a contract signed.
Okay.
Like you can sign a contract like in 24 hours, right? If everyone's on the ball and moving along, we can sign contracts really quickly. If everyone's on the ball. Moving forward, it's just gonna be interesting because now, with technology and like ChatGPT and all that stuff like that, I hate it because every client's gonna ChatGPT the contract. And I'm like, well, I'm not ChatGPT and I can't explain it to you like that. So right away, when people email me and they ask me questions, I know they Googled everything. And I'm like, if you're going to Google everything, then you don't need me. You can go use ChatGPT, man. Like, there's a certain amount of trust that is still involved in every transaction. Technology, how do I say this? There is still the human element in life.
I was about to say that. Yeah. It's almost like ChatGPT. It's like an encyclopedia, right? Like
That's
Google
it.
was that in that sense, but it now it kind of displays it in a more human sense of form. So people can like say, oh, okay, I understand that, right? It breaks it down a little bit better, but it's the same thing. Like you can read about how to ride a bike, but the fact of the matter is you can't learn how to ride a bike by reading it, right? So I use that analogy in the sense of saying a lot of people underestimate, whether you're a lawyer, you're a doctor in any industry, right? The human form of relationships and the network and the ability to get those parts of the process of the transaction done. And it's not through submitting something, via email. It's through a relationship. Like you have a relationship with,
100%.
a bank and everything like that. Like you got to get that thing done. Right?
100%.
Yeah.
Yeah, I agree 100%. There's you're unless you're like a robot, you can't eliminate the human element out of everything we do. And some people that are like, introverts and stuff like that, they probably prefer that. But at the end of the day, you still have to come to the closing, right? The bank still needs you to sign your loan documents, right? So you still need to deal with it. And for me, that's a good thing. we're not robots. If God designed us to be robots, life would be a lot easier, but we're not. We're all unique. We're all different. We all have different personalities. We all come in like different shapes and sizes. And that's a good thing. I think you got to cherish that, enjoy that. And that's the fun part about dealing with, people on deals, right?
Yeah.
You guys have to deal with like when you do an open house, like you have no idea who's going to walk through the door.
Right.
The one guy that like you think is like, what the freak is this guy? And he's going to be like, give you the best offer. Like, who knows, right? Nobody knows, right? Same thing with me as an attorney. Like, I have no idea who I'm talking to. And, some people who sound like they're going to be the best clients end up being the worst clients. And sometimes the worst clients end up being the best clients because they love what you did for them. So that's why it's really imperative to, we have to maintain our humanity, being who we are. It's important. I think so. That's my opinion.
Yep.
Yeah.
So most people who are close to you would agree with me when I say this, right? But it seems like I can never be out at a dinner with you without you bumping into somebody that you know, right? And it speaks upon your vast network of relationships and how many people you've helped along the way. And what I would say that you're extremely good at is bringing people together from various skill sets and different walks of life. It also makes you a magician in putting together resourceful development deals. Talk to us about your experience in development.
That's a long story, man.
Give us the short version.
I spent the first 10 years of my practice watching clients make money. Like every 2-3 years, they're like buying a house, doing this, doing that. I'm like, and I'm the lawyer. I'm supposed to be the educated one. Like, what the hell's going on here, man? So every time I made a bid on a house, I'm thinking this, calculating that, and before I know it, somebody took the deal,
So you were overanalyzing and being critical.
Yeah, because that's what we're educated to do, right?
Right.
You want to make sure you try to like eliminate risk and make a good decision. And I realized that the guys who don't know how to assess risk, right, are the ones that are getting the deals and making a lot of money. So this adage in school that you learned for all the young people out there, right? Low risk, low reward, high risk, high reward. That is so true. Because low risks means, whatever you're putting in, you're really assessing the crap out of it so that you can just get like that minuscule return. And it's all about personality, right?
Right.
So some people are happy with that. But the guys that are willing to wheel and deal and make deals, the risk is high, but the reward is high.
Right. So do you think that's, I'm sorry to cut you off. Do you think that's also a part of ignorance, where if you didn't know so much detail about it, you would have the courage to just kind of, not say rush into the deal, but like capture the deal, be quick, the quickest to offer something, right? And then get in there and then figure it out afterwards? Does ignorance play a role into courage, is what I'm asking.
That's a wonderful question. Let me ask you this. I wouldn't want to use the word ignorance.
Okay.
Because you only know what you know. And we all have different backgrounds. If you see a deal and you know what your neighbor bought, the guy across the street bought,
Mm-hmm.
and the guy, down the block bought, and you're like, this is a good price, let me buy it. But educated people would be like, let me see the comps.
Right. Right.
Why are you lying to me, motherfucker? Because we know that in Flushing, the contract price and the comps ain't real shit, bro.
Right.
So, I use that and I say that jokingly, and, Andy, you know what I'm talking about.
Yeah.
So, like, how do you know? No one knows, because there's an intrinsic value when you want to do a deal. And I'm not going to say it's like based on like your return is 10%, 20%, 50%, because you and I both know guys that are, some people are happy with 10% return. That's why you have a savings account for freaking a money market, like 4%. And then, you know, some guys like they won't do a deal for 50% return. Like, goddamn, like what the freak, man? Like these guys, like, cause they're like, I won't do a deal until I 2x my money, 3x my money.
Right.
I'm like, good for you, motherfucker. I'm like, what the hell? You know, so like, to each his own.
Right.
To each his own. I would say that you have to be comfortable in what you're going to do and where you're going to put your money. And when you invest, remember the word invest doesn't guarantee a return. I mean, you could potentially lose it.
Yep.
But in all my years and like dealing with real estate in like the 5 boroughs, you know, unless you're completely foolish, you know, over a 10-year span, it's hard for me to find someone who lost money.
Right.
Right. And it also comes into play like what are you looking to do? Are you flipping a deal? Are you building a deal? Are you looking to add value? So it really depends on the individual. And for me as an attorney, I always ask my client, like, they're like, I want this house. I'm like, okay, what are you trying to do? Like, I want to know what my clients to do. Because if at the end of the day, they're like, I just want the freaking house. I'm like, all right, I'm going to get you the house. That means no changes on the contract. Let's rock and roll. Because if I kill a deal, 5 years now, I can be like, you son of a bitch, you freaking lost a deal for me. I'm like, I don't want to do that, right? So you got to know your client. You got to know what they're trying to do. And then based on what they want, you act accordingly. But for myself, I'm a pretty conservative guy. You were asking about my own developments. I think through the years, I've learned enough through mistakes, and also I've learned enough through watching some of my clients do very well in real estate. And so I'm still very conservative. I flip houses. I build, Adam, you know, we'll build multifamily, we'll build condos, we build rentals. It's exciting. I enjoy it. And so for the development side, you know, there are guys out there that are way bigger than me, and they do what they do. I'm happy with what I do. I know what I'm capable of doing. I will never do anything that's outside of my comfort zone. So for me, I know like when I'm doing development, so long as it's like under 40,000, so long as like I'm guaranteeing a construction loan that's not over a certain amount, I'm comfortable. And certainly the most important thing is like, who am I doing the deal with? Goes back to relationships.
Yep.
You know, the guys I work with, we don't question each other. It's all about, listen, everything's in a Dropbox. Take a look. There's no secrets, you know? And you know, I'm not like, listen, if my partner's a GC's got to make his money.
Of course.
He's building.
Mm-hmm.
Sub's got to make money. Broker's got to make money. You know, everyone should make the money they're supposed to make. I'm not one of these guys that wants to be like, hey, man, like, you know, build a freaking building for $150 a square foot with $300 finishes. That's unrealistic, right? Like, come on, like just think normally, right? That this just doesn't happen.
Right.
You need to be realistic about your goals and what you want to do on a development deal. They get pretty hairy. And I think that most of the guys that I partner with, because they know that I'm an attorney and I'm going to try to do a good job is, you know, on my side, and I'll take care of the legal side. So they have a comfort level. So I'll get into those deals with them. And if it's not comfortable, then we, you know, hey, shake hands, close the deal, and we move on to the next thing, you know? That's how I feel.
Awesome.
There's a little more I want to add into that. Just if anyone finds a deal, right? And in commercial perspective, you found a deal, you want to analyze quickly. You have the right people, like you have the legal side, maybe a GC. You analyze this deal. If it's for you, you continue analyzing. If it's not for you, pass. Go on. Just go on. No. Don't wait. Once you wait, sometimes deal is gone. When it's gone, it's gone.
Yeah.
That's it. So take the opportunity. If you find a deal, you need to analyze quickly. That's something I want to really
100%. I agree with that. That time is everything, right? Timing is everything. When I get a deal sheet, and let's say one of my partners are like, "Hey, let's do this deal," I'm like, "All right, let's go." Did we do the zoning analysis? Have we done like the billable square footage? Right? Is there a tax abatement involved? Are there any rebate programs that are involved? You know, are we going to do rental? Are we going to do condos? You know, what's this? Sellable square footage? Yeah, we're going to rock and roll with the next 24 hours, right? And so we're going to move quickly because we want the deal. And sometimes, listen, I've been on the one side where I wanted the deal and we got the contract comments out, but another guy comes in with just a better price. So I will say this about me though, like I'm not big on chasing a deal. So like if like, let's say we both got contracts and like, this is the contracts and we send our contracts back because, and I'm sorry, I love you guys, but like as brokers, right? You're going to be like, a motherfucker came with a higher deal. And I'll be like, yo, fuck you too, man. So I'm not gonna chase a deal.
Right.
But if the deal's there and we want to do the deal, I'll do the deal. If somebody outbids me, then God bless. That means that he was supposed to get the deal, and I'll just find another deal. So yeah. There's always a deal
another
to
deal.
be done.
Yes.
Right?
Yes.
Yeah.
Always.
So I want to touch on, at the stage of your life, you are the leader of your firm, your family, and your life. What does leadership mean to you?
Oh, geez.
Getting serious now, man.
So the most important thing is being a leader in your home first. Everything else is bullshit. If you don't have your house taken care of, like, I'll tell you this, like, when I do deals with people, I want to know my partners, their family. If they don't have their family in order, how the hell are they going to do my like freaking huge deal? How are they going to keep that in order? So for me, family is the most important thing. I'm not trying to be judgmental, but like as a man, who you are as a husband, as a father, if you have kids, that speaks volumes to me. Nothing is more important to me than being a good father and a good husband. You could be everything else with money, but money can't make you a better father and make you a better husband.
No.
Yeah.
Probably worse.
Yeah. Right? Like would you guys agree?
Yeah, probably got all the money, you know what I'm saying?
Money can make you a good partner.
Yeah.
Money can make me a good leader in my office. Money can make me anything in the outside world. But money can't make you a good leader in your home. And so to me, being a leader in my home means showing my kids when I make mistakes that I can apologize. That's not a very Asian thing. That I would attribute that to my faith. Because I have 3 boys and a girl, Adam knows, and they're older. And I want them to start engaging in the family business and doing things, but I don't force them. I don't push them. Because our Asian culture, we kind of like push kids into doing things that they don't want to do. I want to see that they want to do it, and then I can cultivate it. And for me, humility and sacrifice are the biggest words. Because how do you say this? Our culture does not value being humble, and it does not value the word sacrifice. We use the word sacrifice very loosely. And this is where I get very serious because, I have all these arguments with people like, when people like say like, oh, do you love this? You love that? I'm like, love. Like culture says love is a feeling, man. To me, love is not a feeling. Love is an action. It's a very clear and defined action. It's the ability of someone to sacrifice what they want for the sake of the other person, right? And when you sacrifice, the other person sees the sacrifice and then they reciprocate. So the one who loves the most is the one who sacrifices the most and is the most humble. And so with my relationships with my family and even my office, if you come to my office, Adam, you see I don't sit in the big office in the back.
Yeah.
I have a partner.
Yep.
I sit in the front. I'm like everybody else. That's where it comes back to like me growing up in a restaurant. Like the workers and me, we're all the same. Because what am I without my workers?
That's right.
I'm nothing, man.
Yeah.
If I don't have my staff and my partner, like what can I do? It's funny. And I'll bring it back to the takeout restaurant. I grew up in a takeout restaurant. Every chef thinks he makes the best chicken and broccoli. But I tell the chef, you could have the best goddamn chicken and broccoli. But if there's no one picking the phone and there's no one wrapping the order and delivering it, your chicken and broccoli don't mean nothing. You need the guy to pick up the phone, wrap the order, and deliver it. You know? So people always think that what they have is the secret sauce. I think the secret sauce is making sure that you have a good team and a group of people that you get along with that are like-minded, that have the same goals and aspirations.
Mm-hmm.
You know, it's a funny thing. Like, Adam, you've heard me say this. Like, what's the point of having money and being lonely?
Yeah.
It's miserable, man. You want to have your friends that have money with you because then you can go golf and play. When you have money and you want to go play, nobody else can play, then what are you doing? It's like pointless.
100%.
Right? So I think being a leader in our culture has been misunderstood. I think if you understand what being a leader means, it means you're the first one to sacrifice and you're the most humble guy. Because when as a leader, when you're humble and sacrifice, all the people that work under you, they're going to sacrifice for you. And who benefits more? The boss, right?
Exactly.
And you got to bless those people around you, and you still got to take care of the people around you. So to me, leadership qualities require humility and the ability to sacrifice for someone else. You know, who doesn't have a secretary that pisses them off? But you deal with it. Because, you know, the secretaries are the ones scheduling the closings, right?
Yep.
Like, they're setting up my schedule. And if they know that I take care of them, then they're going to take care of me. If you don't, you know, guess what? They're going to send me to a closing in Brooklyn. They're going to send me a closing in like Westchester. They're going to send me a closing in Flushing. Like, dude, I don't want that. Right? So I think leadership is very differently defined nowadays. I think, the most important attributes that I would say are humility and sacrifice. Those are like key in leadership.
And lead by action.
Yeah, man. You know, like, Adam knows I love like military. We have family in the military. You know, would I follow a leader who doesn't, you know, practice what he preaches? I'd be like, you're a fraud, man. I don't want to follow you. But when your leader does the things
In the
to
trenches.
lead, in the trenches when it matters, dude, I'll run straight forward, man. Do whatever you want me to do, man. I'll do it. You know, so and because I have 3 boys, I think it's really important for me to make sure I pass that down to my boys. I want my boys to understand that, you know, important stuff.
So a lot of people in our industry and culture drive fancy cars and wear designer brands, right?
Here we go.
Show that they are somewhat successful or competent in their field, right? I've been guilty of this, but you are the complete opposite, right? I coined a phrase for you a while back, and I said your strategy should be called reverse peacocking. It could be a black tie affair, and you're in a flannel button down, right? You told me once that you've always been comfortable in your own skin, and authenticity has always been your MO. Talk us through that mindset.
All right. So before we do that,
authenticity, baby.
make sure the camera got it.
Yep.
So I remember this conversation. I was like, what the hell are you talking about? Reverse peacock. I'm like, first of all, what the hell is a peacock, right?
Yep.
Like, he's like, oh, you know, they fan their tail out so they can show off.
Yes.
And again, I attribute this to how I grew up. And I think through the years doing closings, let me tell you something that I've learned. When I started my practice in 2004, how many people did I do closings for? Like just started out with like buying a house, working in a restaurant. Then they bought their own restaurant. I did a closing for the restaurant. And then they bought another house. And then they bought another house. Now they're buying a building. And now they're a part of a sponsor.
Right.
There's a process to things, right? Like no one is a peacock from when they're born, right? And for me, I've also dealt with the other side of things where the peacock is flashing their wings and they promise you a million things. And when you're young, you're like, oh, wow, I want to be a part of this. But you learn through time that the guys who talk the most crap are full of crap. So the peacock wasn't really a peacock. He was more like a rooster trying to pretend to be a peacock, right? You know, I like to hunt. So like the turkey fans the flame. And why are we talking about this? And why did I turn my hat backwards? I go, we are who we are. I'm comfortable in my skin and who I am. And again, it's my faith. And I've realized and recognized over time that who you are, wherever you want to be, that's who you're going to be later on in life. So are you going to like tirelessly always try to be somebody else so someone likes you to get a deal? Or just be yourself and get the deals that guys who like you for who you are? It's way easier to get deals from guys who just like you for who you are than trying to get the deal and pretend to be somebody else.
Absolutely.
Right? So I'm not a peacock, motherfucker. You a chameleon. I'm a turkey. I'm a ugly ass turkey.
Okay.
And I know who I am. And I know who I want to be. And if you like me and you want to do business with me, then let's do it. But if you want me to be a peacock, but I'm a turkey, we can't do deals together. And so I don't call it reverse peacocking. I get what you're saying. And it's not like because I want to disrespect anybody. But I've recognized and realized in my life when I try to get dressed up and try to impress other people, the people you want to impress are never impressed. The people who you want to deal with are the people that who are like-minded like you. So you guys are real estate. We all know what the peacock looks like. And so, you know, for me, it's not a big deal. And we could talk about the car that I used to drive, but, you know, we don't have to. You know, what we drive and what we wear doesn't define who we are, right?
Absolutely.
And maybe that's more the American side, because I know Asian culture, it's like really important for face and how we look. But I've realized over time, some of my clients can overlook what I drive and how I dress because they know I do good work,
Right.
right? And they know that I'm protecting them, right? And I'm going to try to do my best. Would you rather have a peacock that's going to tell you everything you want to hear, but just mess everything up on the back end? You know, if that's what you want, then go ahead, man. But that's not who I'm going to be. And that's why I turned my hat back because, you know, this is who I am, and I'm thankful for it. And if people like who I am, then God bless. If you don't like who I am, God bless too, man. You know, can't make everybody happy in life.
Yep.
Yeah, I think being real is very important. Being who you are is also important in this business. And you could get comfortable being who you are and having business, having return business and meeting true friends that's along with you. At the same time, doing business and making money. I think that's very important. With all these stress comes from different aspects of your career. How do you maintain balance with yourself?
Well, so for me, now in my career, I just go upstate.
Upstate.
Oh yeah. Dealing with the day to day is what we do. And I'm always responsive. But for myself, me and my well, not even my family. My family doesn't like it. I just love being in the woods. I love being in creation. I love being outdoors. When I'm outside, that is when I get excited. For me, if we're fishing, hunting, and shooting, that's a good day, and I can do that all day long. So for me, being outdoors is wonderful. And listen, we all do this. Like, how many times can we go to a KTV bar and get like wasted? Like, it's like it gets old really fast, right? Is it fun with clients every once in a while? Yeah, sure. But you know what? Like, do you build relationships doing that stuff? Come on, it is what it is. But clients want to come shooting with me, hunting with me, and fishing with me. Like, come on, let's go do it. Let's rock and roll. Let's spend some time and enjoy that stuff. And so, for me, really, my pastime is just being outside and being outdoors, and that's what I love doing.
Nice. In this segment of our podcast, we're going to ask you some hypothetical questions.
Yep.
Ready? So, what do you wish people understood about you, not just knew about you?
Don't judge me by how I look. Know that I'm an honest and straightforward shooter. I dress for comfort nowadays. I don't dress to impress. So I'm not here to impress you. If you're going to judge me based on how I dress, then you're pretty shallow. I would hope you want to judge me based on my work product, and how I communicate with you through the deal. So whether I'm driving my pickup truck or my Ford C-Max, right? So that's not who I am, right? Or maybe it is.
If you could go back in time to your lowest low in your life, what advice would you give to your younger self?
This is really important. And somebody told me this when I was young. When you're young and you make mistakes, you have time to recuperate and make it back. Don't keep thinking about your mistake. Think about what steps you're going to take to move forward sooner rather than later. When you make big mistakes, you tend to want to sit there and think like, oh, what could I have done? Don't waste your time. It's already passed. Take the steps to tell yourself, what am I going to do to move forward and get myself out of the situation? And then make sure you have a good group of people you trust around you, like real friends, and get their advice. Don't do it on your own. Because, as humans, we often can get tunnel vision. You can convince yourself to do something, but it's not necessarily the right thing. It is important to seek advice, talk to other people, and then make a decision and move forward. I hate seeing people who don't have the ability to move forward. Yeah, this is life, right? You gotta press forward. So mistakes don't define us. They make us who we are. We're all gonna make mistakes. And I love the old adage from like Michael Jordan. There used to be an old, commercial. He doesn't remember the shots that he made. He remembers the shots that he missed. And he's missed more shots than he's made.
Yep, of course.
So just keep pressing forward. And I think the ability to forget is really important. So the mistake you made, right? So don't keep thinking about that mistake. Change your mindset and move forward. That is the key to everything.
So to follow up to that question with a twist, if Jay Lau from 15 years from now, the future Jay Lau
the future Jay
came
Lau.
back to whisper one piece of advice in your ear today, what advice do you think it would be?
Oh, wow.
And it's okay to pass on the question. You could think about it and get back to us, but
No, I'm not going to pass. But I think that's a very insightful question. And I think the guy 15 years from now would probably ask this guy, be like, hey, man, did you do it right?
Mhm.
Like, the people you hang out with now are the same people. Like, yeah, man, who are the relationships that you have? Because I would think that it speaks volumes to longevity is really important, right? So, um, am I still doing business with the same people? But I guess the 65-year-old guy would be like, hey, man, did you do it right? Did you stick to your guns? You know, are you still the same person? Or did you change for somebody else?
Wow, that's
So,
very important.
yeah, I guess that's what it would be.
Okay.
If you walk into a room with everyone you ever met, who's the first person you'll walk up to and why?
I did, so
And it could be somebody who's still currently with us and not currently with us, right? It's anybody that you've ever met or ever was part of your life.
you're trying to say, like, who's the first guy we walk up to?
Yeah.
Here's where I think there's no one to me that is that important or has that high of a status that I'd walk to first. I think, and I've always been like this, and I think I'm going to continue to be like this. You know, like when you're young, you see your family. I know, I guess in Asian culture, like the oldest uncle or the grandma, grandpa, you go to them and you say hello and you make your way rounds. But in this situation where it's not my family, it's just business people. I would say as I'm entering the room, whoever I see, I say hello. I'm going to treat everyone the same. You know, just because your pockets have more money than somebody else, I'm not going to walk up to you first. I'm going to walk up to everyone that I've ever met and I've had a relationship with and I've done a deal. And I know maybe Asian people be like, oh, why do you go up to him first? But what I'm trying to do in just my heart is just to be like, I just want to make sure I was respectful and I went up to everyone to give my respect. It's not, and the order in which I said that is not a reflection of the priority. It's just making sure I got everyone. Because at the end of the day, last time I checked, we all die. Nobody takes anything with them. We're all in the same boat, man. If you want to measure that, yeah, man, like we're all in the same boat. Like last I checked, like nobody lived longer than anybody else, you know, and no one took anything into the next life, you know? So if you're going to be disrespected by how I say hello, that's not my problem. That's a you problem, right? But I'm just trying to be respectful to everybody. So I wouldn't go to one person over another.
Okay, fair enough.
Unless it's like my mom and dad. That's it.
All right, Jay. We really appreciate your time and sharing your insights and life lessons with us. You're truly a person that I've always have and continue to admire and respect. But before we go, we have one last question. If you had one message to be remembered by, what would it be?
One
message.
I would say love God, man, and know that God loves you. If you understand that concept, you act different. There's a higher power in life. And if you operate with the understanding that there's a higher power in life, you treat people different. And so, man, to me, it's like love God and love the people around you. That's it.
Awesome. Dude, thank you so much.
Thanks for being here, man. Appreciate you.
Thank you guys, man.
Thank you.